Welcome back to the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Today is Tuesday, April 17th, 2018. Taking a look at our current solar wind speeds, we are looking at a 301.8 kilometers per second with a density of 7.9. I'd like to make a correction. I've been informed that NOAA has come out and spoke about the solar wind speed increase that we saw just the other day, where it went up 200 kilometers per second within 5 minutes. They believe it was a glitch in their equipment and that they would be doing more tests to make sure that they can better measure solar wind speeds in the future. But right now they are saying that nothing matches up from their end that would cause such an increase in solar wind speeds. So I thought I'd just throw that out there today. Looking at our sun, we have 0 sunspots to talk of. That's now a new streak of 2 days without sunspots, totally sitting at 64 for 2018. Taking a look at our KP indices, we are at a quiet 1, and our 24-hour max is also at a 1. And taking a look at our coronal hole that we should be expecting activity from on the 19th and the 20th, that's Thursday into Friday. NOAA forecasters are saying that there is a 50% chance, like always, for geomagnetic class storm, a G1 actually. So that is expected on April 19th through the 20th. And looking at this coronal hole, not that wide, so I couldn't see solar wind speeds getting past the 575 mark, maybe peaking at the 600 kilometers per second, but just for a brief second or so. Moving on to our TSI data, as of April 9th, 2018, we are at a 1360.69. As you see, the last few days in reading, we have stayed right about the 1360.7 range for the last 3 readings. So pretty steady right now. And I want to go back to spaceweather.com and share this real quick. I know my kid would appreciate this. He is into Captain Underpants. But on March 29th, the students of the Earth to Sky Calculus launched a space weather balloon to measure cosmic rays in the stratosphere, something they've been doing for more than 3 years in collaboration with spaceweather.com. The unique cosmic ray monitoring program is not supported by the NSF, NASA, or government grants. Instead, we rely on individual sponsors. In this case, Captain Underpants. Actually, it was Tracy Stewart and Brian Elkington of West Valley City, Utah, who did the sponsoring. They are parents of 2 young scientists, Maxwell and Timothy, who want to fly Captain Underpants and his sidekick Mousy to the edge of space. Tracy and Brian sponsored the launch of Earth to Sky balloon with cosmic ray sensors on board, and Captain Underpants went along for the ride. And a ride it was. The payload traveled more than 111,000 feet above the Earth's surface, experiencing temperatures as low as minus 60 Celsius. Air pressures less than 0.2% of sea level. The cosmic rays dose rate at the apex of the flight, circled in red, was more than 100 times greater than on Earth below. And looking at the old chart here that shows the 13% increase here in California, even in New England, it's greater. So, and this just happened, so they're waiting right now to analyze the data that they had captured for these for this reading. So we'll bring you the report as soon as they get the results in. I just wanted to share that with everybody real quick, that we will have a cosmic ray update hopefully within the coming weeks. And while we're on cosmic rays, NASA to test Israeli-made radiation protection Space Vest on Orion EM1 flight. It says here that Israel Space Agency and NASA announced on Tuesday that they were going to join forces to protect astronauts in space from radiation exposure, tapping into technology developed by Israeli company Stimrad for a radiation protection vest it created, the AstroRad, set to be tested in deep space. And the reason why this is important, these people obviously understand what's happening right now with the minimum that we're in. Weaker magnetosphere, more radiation, and like I reported a few weeks ago, that the space radiation for astronauts now had been reported that 700 days consecutive was the max, where it used to be 1,000. But this suit mainly protects bone marrow, lung, chest, stomach, colon, and the ovaries among women. Those are the organs that are particularly sensitive to the formation of malignant tumors as a result of the exposure to radiation. So taking that extra step, it's good to see a helping hand in Israel and the technology here, and try to help protect our astronauts here in the future, as it's very serious that they are looking to go back to the moon and or the Mars. So we'll keep our eye on these developments. And man, what a day yesterday for a Bay Area city here in Oakland, California. Let's just say it got off to an apocalyptic start in the Bay Area is what this report says. Torrential downpours, hail, snow, thunder, lightning strikes, and even an earthquake reported in this region. Yeah, definitely more than a manic Monday. A 3.8 magnitude quake struck at 9:40 a.m., 9 miles northeast of San Jose. It was snowing, it was hailing with thunder, then there was an earthquake. It felt like a big jerk, not rolling, said Angela Barlow, whose Park Services attendant at the time. It was a landslide of weather. At least an inch of snow fell on Mount Hamilton in the South Bay, according to employees at the Lick Observatory. It's unusual but not heard of for snow to fall on Bay Area peaks at this time of year. He says we get these last gasps of winter that drop down from Canada. In Oakland, the hail was so heavy, some compared it to snowfall. It caused vehicles to slide off roadways and forced temporary closures of streets, including Redwood Road near Highway 13. So just interesting. You think you had a bad Monday. I know here in Buffalo, we were dealing with a really heavy rain that happened overnight. I can't imagine waking up to torrential downpours, snow, hail, thunder, lightning, and, oh yeah, a 3.8 earthquake. So definitely Oakland, San Jose area, you guys take the cake for having the worst Monday probably of the year so far. Dangerous, life-threatening fire conditions expected. Last week I reported on Oklahoma, and we did see some deadly fires roll through there. Now we focus our attention on Albuquerque. Environmental Health Department implemented a health alert Tuesday because of high winds have caused air quality issues. The blowing dust could be a problem for people with respiratory problems, and the city department advises people to keep their doors and windows closed and limited time outside. The alert will remain in effect till 9 p.m. tonight. Now, high winds have caused problems in other areas. The New Mexico Department of Transportation says I-25 north of Trinidad, Colorado, was shut down due to the winds. Drivers should expect delays around Raton Pass. And this pink area here is extreme fire danger. High winds, low humidity, and of course, very warm temperatures. The National Weather Service gave an ominous warning on the fire danger threatening New Mexico and surrounding states. Officials say the strong winds and low humidity will create the perfect storm for creation of fires and spread of them. This is a very dangerous and potentially life-threatening fire weather situation. The National Weather Service actually tweeted this out this morning. And as I scroll down here, they also tweeted out some things that you could do to help prevent these fires from starting. Properly discard of cigarettes, keep vehicles off of dry grass, that's really important. Avoid activities with open flames or sparks, so that means no fireworks in the middle of April. Avoid power equipment that creates sparks. Obey burn bans. Evacuate if smoke fire is heading your way. Evacuate if ordered to do so by local officials. So last week we had issues in Oklahoma. Now we're looking at around 8,000, 10,000 acres on fire now in New Mexico. After we just saw reports of, I think it was 250,000 acres of land that was just scorched. So barely into the fire season and already seeing lots of damage. Elsewhere, heavy rain flooded and kills 41 people, destroys 3,000 homes in Rwanda. The agency added that floods unleashed by heavy rains also killed 600 animals, destroyed thousands of buildings, including 3,000 homes, and more than 4,200 acres of plantations. Deaths were mainly caused by floods and lightning. And that's believable there with the flash flooding that we've seen over there already. Heavy rains and floods hit the country in 2017 that killed 82 people, destroyed more than 5,000 homes and over 12,000 acres of fields. So just another area that we are monitoring that's also, I mean, this is not the first time we've reported flash floods in Africa. So talking about only 3 deaths in the April blizzard that we had just this past weekend. And now we take a look at this next storm system that we're looking at. This is mainly for the south, though. And this is going to be a drought buster is what they're saying. So that's good. That's the first part of the good news here. The storm is projected to take a tour of the southern United States with a beneficial rain, localized flooding, and isolated severe thunderstorms along the way, spanning late this week into early next week. So this is where the storm will start, and I'll show you that too on Tropical Tidbits. This is the one that kind of makes a diagonal beeline from the Colorado area and then just kind of rakes the Gulf Coast. Large hail, strong wind gusts, flash flooding, and isolated tornado are possible from the strongest storms. The odds are greatly against a significant outbreak of severe weather at this time, according to AccuWeather storm warning meteorologists. However, all it takes is one violent storm to threaten the lives and for a storm to hit a populated area to cause great damage. In other words, they don't want to downplay this storm by any means. But at the same time, flash floods are just as dangerous as tornadoes or anything else. And that is definitely going to be a concern. Here is a chart here showing where the extreme drought is. And as you see in the dotted lines, parts of Arizona and New Mexico, Texas, Oklahoma, Nebraska, Kansas and Colorado. But as you see right here, a good chunk of this extreme drought area will receive some beneficial rain and snowfall. So there is a silver lining to this story anyway as it begins. And here's the track that it's taking. This is what I was telling you earlier. Now, this is not looking like a severe event, but this is looking more like a drenching event as they are predicting 2 to 4 inches to fall with locally higher amounts. So it's possible that we could see 3 to 5 in some localized areas with 2 to 4 a sure thing from where you see the location of this low pressure system all the way through the weekend into Monday of next week. And with all the rain, we talk about crops every day that we do a show. I wanted to show this one real quick. Mother Nature is messing up all kinds of planting. This is the time when spring planting is typically in full swing, but not today. Today in the northern Corn Belt is much of what we're used to doing in March, watching snowbanks melt. There is a there's virtually no progress in the northern half of the Corn Belt, as we've been locked in an extremely cold pattern that just doesn't want to seem to end. Crop conditions and progress came out yesterday, with planting almost non-existent in the Midwest, with the big chill still in place, continuing past the month or more of very cold weather, much below normal anyway. Corn planting advanced only 1% to 3%, and falling 2% behind for the normal pace for right now. So no progress has been made in the northern half of the U.S., basically is what this is saying. HRS wheat is only 3% planted versus being normally at 15% by this time. With zero progress in Minnesota, North Dakota, and South Dakota. It states here, this is becoming a disaster, and it's likely at least 5 to 10% more of HRS wheat acreage intended will be lost to corn or soybeans later crops, of course. So they're running out of time here to put things in the ground. It says we will likely fall further behind next week with cold weather and snow in many areas, still hampering the progress. With yield highly dependent on planting dates, early planting producing higher yields, late planting usually is lower, of course. We are probably going to lose yield potential with a late planting, perhaps 1 to 3% at this point. This is this website is called agriculture.com. I highly recommend you guys bookmark this website. The link will be in the description. Here's another article that talks a little bit about more wheat crops that have actually some crops are doing okay. The wheat crops here are all right. They're showing that soybeans are up but very low. So right now we're not seeing, you know, extreme prices being gouged right now, but that we are starting to see a little bit of a rise in these prices as well in the stock market. But give these guys, check them out, agriculture.com. Some very useful information. And I saw this right before we started planning for the show today. And agweb.com, it's a blog here where the comments from farmers. I'm just going to read a few of these. Here's a guy from Marathon County, 20th through 30th of inches of snow. Came this past weekend, April 14th to 15th. Expecting 3 to 6 more on Wednesday. Nothing going on here and won't for at least 2 weeks. Morale is not very high with the crop and dairy farmers. Looking for an early spring, maybe next year. Let me be the first to suggest, this is probably this one takes the cake for me here. This was dated on the 17th of April, 2018, out of Knox County, Illinois. He says, let me be the first to suggest that from this date forward, any forecast of record crop production should be immediately ridiculed as fake news. So this farmer is pretty much saying, if anybody tries to tell you that in this region that there's going to be record-breaking production, it's automatically, it needs to be, look guys, I'm reading these because this is straight from the horse's mouth, okay? This is not from Fox News. This is not from CNN. This is not from MSNBC. It's not even a GSM thing. This is a forum where these farmers all go and comment and kind of give an update. And some of these reports, it's just more of the same. Some wheat fields are finally dry enough to put in last Saturday. Got another 1.5 to 2 inches of rain Sunday, and very cold snow tonight. And that's in Trumbull County, Ohio. You know, here in Wisconsin again, update on snowfall total. We have about 30 inches since Friday night. Gives me a whole new appreciation for what people in Erie, PA, and Buffalo, New York go through. Good thing it's April and not December. I'm not sure how serious he was on that one, but 17 inches of snow, frost still in the ground. It's going to be late one this year. Can't even pull anything out of the shed. That one's out of St. Croix County in Wisconsin as well. Minnesota. I'm sorry, here's South Dakota. No crops to talk about here. Ha ha. Plus another foot of snow on top of the foot of mud. Frost is deep and won't be coming out soon. I think May 10th at the earliest to start field work. May 10th, the earliest to start field work. There's just so many more here. A lot of these farmers are talking about all the snow that they're dealing with. Here's a guy out of Onkato County. Crops? What crops? We have about a foot of snow this morning. That's on top of what we had about 8 inches in the last 2 weeks, which had melted off. That makes it a mushy mess to plow of. The weather folks are saying we will have another foot or so tonight. I think it will be a really late plant here this year. I want a farm on LaSalle Street in Chicago where the temp is always 75 and the sun always shines. They get an inch of rain a week and the crop's always bountiful. Going there is a surplus, so he might be tipping his hat for other farmers. That's where you need to go, LaSalle Street in Chicago, I guess. It could be a farmer's inside joke as well, so I'll have to watch that one. But anyway, I just wanted to bring a couple of these out and wanted to share some of the comments from some of these farmers. Here's one in Iowa. Been an odd winter. Saw a neighbor picking rocks just after Christmas. Started climbing late in February. Went good until much below normal temps and overabundance of snow season started. On April 4th, the temp dipped to 4 degrees. A local tile company started pulling in tile on the 9th. Talk is ground still has a foot of rotten frost. I mean, this is the same story in each comment just about. There's frost in the ground, there's a foot of snow on the ground, and forget about even when the snow melts, now you're talking about pure mud. And the date, May 10th, does come up quite a few times throughout this blog here. Like here on the 11th, this guy here in Minnesota, it says, will be nothing in this part of the Red River Valley until May 10th, and that's the best case scenario. Maybe rain tonight, it will melt it down quicker. But melting down quicker just means more water to deal with. And, you know, Mari and I tell you what, we've had our share of water this year, and with the snow and the rain, what we've seen here in the Northeast, pardon me, if we had farmland out here, it'd be almost impossible to get in the, we would probably need at least 3 weeks to let these fields get a little bit less saturated. And as I'm getting ready to show you here in our weather update, we do get some time to dry off like I spoke about last night in the forecasting. Really, the big story is going to be this next storm system that's going to be coming up late in the week. Here's the minor little snowstorm, and I say minor because compared to what we just had, you know, it's nothing. But really, for April 18th, it's not a bad little snowmaker. We're probably looking at 3 to 5 inches of moderate snow out of this system here. So parts of Iowa that are already complaining about getting in the field sometime in May are getting ready to see another moderate snowfall head their way this week. And that's Wednesday into Thursday. It finally scoots out, like I reported last night. Now, GFS is signaling that this storm does grow a little bit more in size and intensification as it moves through the northern part of the United States, New York, Pennsylvania, and into New England. It'll be cold enough once again for snow on Thursday into Friday morning, and that should taper off. But here is the next storm system the coming weekend, and this is where places like hopefully Iowa and Illinois and Indiana and Ohio and Kentucky, those guys can get in their fields and hopefully let things dry out for a few days. And as I'm talking, I'm already on Sunday, and so far that's a record, I think 3 or 4 days without any kind of moisture for that region that I just mentioned. And pretty much the reason for that is high pressure is dominating in the northern part of the United States, and it's keeping this next storm system, it's going to stay to the south. So this is that rain that we were talking about that was needed badly here in Texas. Unfortunately, they have to wait until later this weekend, but patience is a virtue, especially when you're in extreme drought. This will be much appreciated as well. But this storm does kind of hug the coast, and like I said, high pressure dominates in the north, kind of keeps this low pressure system down there in the Gulf, and this storm system doesn't leave the area till all the way through, it looks like Tuesday night. It hangs on and finally leaves the coast by Wednesday morning, before our first chance of precipitation in Iowa and Indiana, Illinois, and Ohio comes, and eventually hits the northeast and scoots out with another minor disturbance. And like I said, it's April, springtime. We're going to see this continuation of wet weather over the next several weeks. So those people in this area, especially right here, this is the 2nd of May, and I just read you a few comments. Every state that we have moisture in right now is counting on storms like this not to exist in the coming days, because they need that dry weather. They need that time to get things ready in their fields to plant. Time is ticking for sure, and it's getting very, very challenging for some of these farmers out here. I want to take a quick look at Alaska, just go through a brief run through what kind of weather we could expect for them. They've got a pretty big low pressure system that goes down to the bottom part near Canada. Some snow showers throughout the week, kind of flirting around with the coast, but mainly in the form of just snow and some light rain possibly. Let's take out some temperatures here. See when you guys start to warm up, hopefully sooner than later. Mari, how's the chat doing tonight?
It's doing all right, Jake. Got a lot of people in here.
That's
a
good
lot's
to hear.
going on. Just trying to keep up with it. You know, I've had a beating headache all day, and it just doesn't seem to be getting any better right now.
Well, you know, it's probably my fault, I'm sure. Anyway.
No, like, your voice is actually really soothing, Jake. It's very calming.
You know,
so thank you.
We're trying to, also, the reason why I'm kind of showing some things here for Alaska, we're trying to show at least the United States weather, and eventually, once I get this show more fine-tuned, I will be able to cover the UK as well. It's just so much information to go over when it comes to the grand solar minimum. I remember when we first started doing these live updates, Mari, you know, we were having to search high and low for articles and topics, and it just seems like here since February, and really here since March too, but February, it seems like an explosive amount of information has come out, and it's hard to keep up. There's a lot going on. It's happening really fast, and so we try to do the best that we can when it comes to updating folks on the weather. I see some persistent rain showers here in the Hawaiian Islands throughout late next week as well. I'm sorry, this weekend coming up. We just reported that they got 27 inches in 24 hours on one of their islands, destroyed over, I think, 150 buildings. So that's the last thing they really need right now is more rainfall. We'll throw in temperatures. You know, it just makes me jealous to see all that orange and red here. So beautiful, perfect 70s, upper 70s. That's the kind of weather I'd like to have year round. So a little bit jealous over here, guys. All right, so this Friday we have Mr. Henrik, who is well known in this community. We will have him on Friday, April 20th, our 420 show, and I'm sure we'll find a way to incorporate the uses of cannabis medically and how it could benefit folks as well. So not only is it going to be a great show with Henrik, but also the date, yeah, there's a little bit of you know, a little bit of awareness going on that day, 420. So I'm sure we can find a way to implement how cannabis and hemp can be very useful in the grand solar minimum. And with that being said, I find it interesting, such as individuals like John Bonner, who recently became involved with the marijuana industry. And you guys remember Bonner, Ohio representative. He was I think he was the head concho in the Senate or Congress, head of speaker. I'm sorry, Speaker of the House. I'll get it right. And I remember his stance on it was very anti cannabis. So it's interesting to see that he's taking part. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is more and more people are getting involved in cannabis, not just for the recreational part, but the medical advantages that it has. And of course, the products that you can make from hemp: clothing, rope, paper, you name it. There's so much we can do. We can cook with it. We can, you know, use it as cosmetics, for pain relievers, as you know, lotion. There's just endless ways to use cannabis and hemp. So should be an interesting show on Friday, and we hope you guys tune in for that. With that being said, guys, thanks for tuning in to the Grand Solar Minimum. We will talk soon.